So the exhibition is called Painting Paradise, and it's mainly about all the adventures and all the travels that I've been on, going to the Indian Ocean, going to the south of France. But for me, one of the great treasure spots to paint in is my studio. For that is a painting paradise for me. And in my studio, a lot of the work that I create tends to be still lifes. So I have a whole collection of objects that I store on shelves in my studio. And every so often, I take them out and I try and place them in relationship to one another to create really pleasing compositions, but subjects that are challenging for me to try and capture on canvas. And whilst what is important when you're painting a still life to be thinking about surfaces and textures, in the majority of the still life paintings in this exhibition, colour has been the key. So a lot of them are placed on a very dark background to unify the composition. And then I introduce little sparks of very strong colour to create a sort of electric dynamic through the painting. And this isn't my big idea. No, I'm learning from the great painters who've gone before me, and in particular Scottish colourist artists like Goudie and Peploe. I've looked very closely at the kind of still lifes that they've created throughout their career. And the way that they have chosen to use colour, in particular here, Goudie actually, with very strong blocks of flat colour contrasting with the textures that you might find with shimmering silver or silk, have been very instructive for me in the kind of images that I've put together for this show. I love to be in the studio. It's a beautiful, controlled environment. But this exhibition is all about contrast. So when I've finished and I've put my brushes down in the studio and the opportunity is there to go off on the road, I go off in search of yet another painting paradise if I can. I'd never been to the Indian Ocean before, I'd never been to the tropics. And for an artist to find yourself in a landscape, in a place where the light, the colours of the vegetation, the whole environment is so unexpected and such a new challenge, well, that's just wonderful. So these particular paintings I'm very fond of because they show the fishermen off the coast of Mauritius. And they're going out for their day's work in this painting, and they're coming home in the setting sun and the dusk in this painting. And for me it was a scene that repeated itself. I was out in Mauritius for about a month, and my day was sort of framed by the movements of the fishermen out at sea. And I was so happy to be able to capture the sort of bracketing moments of the day, the sense of optimism as the sun comes up, and the morning is there, and the sky is blue, and anything can possibly happen in this day of painting. And the kind of feeling of calm, the tranquility at the end of the day as another wonderful day in paradise comes to an end. So many of these paintings were created in very exotic climates, but I also went to the north. I went to Inverness and I went to the Western Isles. And getting up to the north of Scotland and out to Barra in the Western Isles is no picnic. Particularly Barra, I had a 5-hour ferry trip that was an absolute nightmare with rough seas. But once you get there, the subject is extraordinary. And you do have to battle with the elements, the wind and the rain. But I'm so pleased to have been able to record the experience. And when I got back to the studio, I was able to create much larger paintings, sort of reflecting on the memory of the places that I'd been and the challenges that I faced when I was out there. So for me to finally have all these works on show in the gallery is, well, it's very uplifting, because these paintings, well, their origins are sometimes in sort of a very messy wilderness, cold and chilly, or an environment that's thousands and thousands of miles away where the sand might have been blowing over my sketchbook. The gallery is a very clean, presentable environment, and I think in this space where we very carefully curate the display so that all the works have a relationship to one another and create a sort of story throughout the whole exhibition that really helps if you come to visit, because once you're in the space you can move through the journey with me, and you'll be able to see how the paintings, whether they're from Inverness or from Mauritius, they're actually in a conversation with each other. And that's the great joy, I think, of finally being able to have an exhibition hung on the walls and not just being able to look through the sketchbooks or look at an exhibition virtually. So please do come to the Scottish Gallery and see our installation.